be joined by Tor Wennesland. He just briefed the council, so I think he needs to, we'll go straight to questions. Kristen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Special Representative, we heard a lot of council members calling for the Security Council to do something to support the rulings of the International Court of Justice. Other council members have argued that would be counterproductive to bringing peace to the region. Do you think that it would be helpful? What would the impact be on your attempts to negotiate in the region if the council were to take action in support of the ICJ?
Well, thank you for the question. More broadly, I would say the following. If the council can agree upon a broader set of measures that would move us forward by clear principles outlined for a two-state solution after this war in Gaza and after the commotion of the West Bank, that would help me a lot. When it comes to the issues relating to court decisions, that is more for the council to decide and see how they would do that and how the institutional framework of ICJ would kind of take these actions. That is a fairly complicated thing, and I don't know how fast it will move. But I want to kind of turn it around and say that if the council could outline principles like the ones I myself outlined in the council today, together with other members of the council, then we would move the direction very clearly in a different path than we have at the moment. And I hope that will happen.
Edie?
Thank you very much, Mr. Wennesland. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. You warned in your speech about a possible regional conflagration every day that this war continues. And you've called for the parties to sit down and, excuse me, and negotiate. How realistic is it that they could even dream of doing that at this point? And what else do you think could be done to end what you said is the block in negotiations on a ceasefire and the release of hostages?
I would like to start with the hostages. I think it's a tragedy that we have not been able, and despite the hard work of the negotiators, we have not been able to kind of leverage what was achieved with the first release into a second and a third phase. There are many reasons for that, and there has been talks only the last days. I'm in constant contact with the negotiators on these things, so I won't go into the details. I'll just say it's very tragic that we couldn't leverage it, because just now we need it badly. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to the regional dynamic, I would say that luckily there is a quite regional diplomacy whereby it is possible so far to avoid the worst escalations. That there are many people in that sort of diplomacy. Key countries are involved. I'm also into this space myself. But I would like to underline that if diplomacy had been dead in the region, we would have seen a very different dynamics. So, negotiations is a lot of stuff. This is not a Vienna conference. It is hard notes, secret talks.
Thank you. My name is Ibtisam Azim, Al Arabi Al Jadid newspaper. I have a question about the issue of settlements. you have and settlers' violence, and many countries, including the U.S., condemn settler violence and settlements, but yet we don't see any actions on the ground to stop this. Do you believe that the Security Council should put sanctions on settlers and settlements, on Israeli government, in order to implement its own resolutions in this regard? Because talking is not working. Thank you.
Well, I know very clearly about what is being done by U.S. On that issue, and I met with Joseph Borrell in Brussels on Sunday, discussing the same issue. There are measures underway and undertaken by European countries and by U.S. against settler and groups of settlers, both individuals and others. We'll see how these measures will bite. I am strongly condemning the whole settler enterprise. And I said in the council today that this is not something that is just happening. It is something that is happening because it's superbly well planned and implemented on a timeline. And we have, unfortunately, over the last year and a half, seen that dynamic picking up very fast, both when it comes to the announcement of new activities and settlements, and also the expansion of it into the West Bank, and a spike in settler violence in addition. This is a major obstacle, for getting out of the current conflagration.
But what should be the practical steps should be taken? Because there has been a talk constantly about this, but nothing really happening. So don't you think that there should be more practical steps, and should the UN lie this out better?
Well, I think what is very noticeable for those people who get affected by what decisions taken both on the US and on the European side, I think we have started to see measures recently for the first time that is actually biting. And be aware, it's a long time since 2334 was adopted, and it is only more recently we have seen biting measures taken by member states. So there is a difference, and I think it has to do with the dynamic around decisions taken on the Israeli side to expand.
Hi, Mr. Wennesland. Shudeju with China Central Television. We heard about the illegal settlements and the war in Gaza. So have you communicated with the Israeli government officials? Do they still believe a two-state solution you are working on? And how to persuade everybody that this two-state solution deal is still alive? Thank you.
For sure, I've talked to Israeli officials and politicians about the two-state solution. What I do think is that we can't get started in full speed as if nothing had happened. That's why I'm saying that I put a lot of emphasis. If you're going to turn the ship, the Council needs to agree on some major principles, out of which some I've outlined myself in today's meeting and before. We need to start somewhere. I'm also fully aware of the opposition by the Israeli prime ministers and others in his government on that principle. Well, I mean, we will have to move on it anyway, and the UN do not see a way around that one for a lasting peace to take place. And I just want to recommit and reconfirm that. And I would like to add, I haven't seen the Security Council as pronounced on this matter as they've been since the last year.
Thank you. Nabil?
Mr. Wennesland, there are some talks about, I don't know, different ideas about an international presence or deployment in Gaza. do you see that, first of all, are you engaged in these talks? And what kind of presence you think would be good to stabilize or to help stabilizing Gaza? Is ANSO a good entity, for example, to be deployed in Gaza, or what would be the UN role in this matter? Thank you.
Listen, the collapse and attacks on the UN facilities at Rafah this morning is just underlining how the breakdown of law and order looks like. So that is one aspect of what we need to deal with the day after. The second aspect of what we need to deal with the day after is what you are alluding to, namely how can we have a security for Israel and the Palestinians living in Gaza along the border with Gaza. Both these things need to be somehow put into the package of what we do with the day after when this comes to an end. I think it's very premature to kind of go for a particular solution and option on it, but I think actually the definition on what we need to address is becoming by far more clear. But who will address it, what system we put it in, what would be the framework of that is not clear yet.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.